Is this some kind of joke? Get her away from my car. The voice cracked through the Monroe Luxa Drive showroom like a thunderclapper, indignant and rehearsed. Heads turned. A glossy white SUV gleamed under showroom lights. But all eyes landed on the woman standing next to it. She didn't flinch. She didn't speak. She just stood there, calm, composed, dressed in black slacks, a linen blouse, and low-profile sneakers. But to the older woman in pearls and a red power suit, she was a threat. I sage at security. She's making me uncomfortable. The woman barked again, tossing her handbag on the front seat as if she owned the floor beneath her heels. That woman's name was Vivian Thorne, 64, longtime client of the dealership and, more importantly in her mind, a priority client. To her, power meant visibility, loud voice, louder wardrobe, and a tendency to assume that silence equals submission. But the woman she pointed at, that was Ava Monroe, founder of Monroe Luxa Drive, billionaire CEO, owner of every car, every contract, every paycheck inside the room. Only today, she didn't walk in with an entourage. No name badge, no press, no Rolex. Just her eyes, watching. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change, and we're glad you're here. Now, back to Ava. She had walked in just 6 minutes ago, alone. No one greeted her. Martha Kilburn, regional sales manager, gray blazer buttoned to high. Judgment perched just beneath her lips, glanced over her bifocals, and whispered something to an associate. Moments later, Vivian showed up. Vivian's voice now carried across the showroom. I don't know who let her in, but that's not how we protect high-end inventory. That word protect landed heavy, as if Ava was a threat, not a client, not a CEO, a risk. A young staffer, Jordan, hesitated near the reception desk. He didn't reach for the phone, not yet, but his eyes darted from Ava to Vivian, back to his manager. Something was off, and he felt it. Ava hadn't moved. Her hands rested lightly on her leather tablet case. Her expression didn't change. This wasn't new. At 27, she'd been followed around a dealership in Atlanta, mistaken for someone's assistant until she bought 2 cars in cash. At 32, she walked into a partner negotiation meeting and was asked if she was in the wrong room. Now at 38, she owned 17 showrooms nationwide and still, she was treated like an intruder near her own fleet. Martha stepped forward now, lips pressed. Ma'am, she said sharply, not to Vivian, but to Ava. I'm going to need you to step away from the vehicle. Our premium models are for verified clients only. That line had a ring to it, polished discrimination. Ava blinked slowly, but still, she said nothing. Because some storms you don't stop with noise. You stop them by letting the thunder come to you. It wasn't supposed to be a performance. It was supposed to be a pulse check. Ava Monroe had founded Monroe Luxa Drive not for the money though. She had plenty but to change the way power looked when it walked into a room. Too many times she had entered luxury spaces only to be met with suspicion. Dressed as professionalism, gatekeeping disguised as policy. This morning, she wanted to see if her own legacy had fallen into that same trap. The Luxa Drive showroom in downtown Chicago was the crown jewel of the network. High ceilings, obsidian tile floors, glass walls so spotless they looked invisible. Every corner gleamed with chrome, every surface whispered premium. But even the cleanest showrooms can collect dust when no one's watching. So she came alone. No executive badge, no press release. Just her in silence. Because the loudest truths don't need an introduction. Vivian Thorne hadn't recognized her, of course not. People like Vivian didn't see people like Ava unless they were holding keys or pushing paperwork. The idea that a young black woman could stand near a $130,000 electric SUV and own it, not just the car, but the entire space, didn't fit her version of reality. And Martha Kilburn, she'd worked in auto sales longer than Ava had been alive. To her, respect came with age, seniority, and skin color. She didn't hate Ava. She just couldn't imagine her That's more dangerous. Vivian now circled the SUV, pretending not to stare, but clearly fuming. Ava watched as she brushed imaginary dust off the door handle. I come here for service, Vivian said loudly, though no one had asked, not drama. You'd think by now this place would learn who to let in and who to keep out. Martha nodded from the side, arms crossed. We've had a few walk-in this week. Some think this is a rental lot. Ava said nothing. She was logging every word, not on a notepad, in her head. 3 months ago, she'd gotten a letter. A client complaintanimous. Said she'd been talked down to by a sales director. Said her questions were ignored until a white man in a suit entered and suddenly got full attention. Ava had read it twice. She didn't fire anyone today. She waited, watched. Today was confirmation. From across the room, Jordan's young staffer adjusted his tie. He kept looking at Ava like he almost recognized her. But fear of being wrong, of stepping out of line, held him back. His silence spoke volumes. Behind the showroom desk, a security guard now leaned forward, mid-50s, bored expression, fingers hovering over the intercom. One word from Martha, and he'd be on his feet. One nod from Ava, and he'd lose his job. But she didn't nod. Not yet. Martha turned toward Ava again, sharper this time. I asked you nicely. This section's for scheduled clients only. If you're not purchasing, I'll have to ask you to leave. Final warning. Final warning. Ava remembered being 15, standing outside a dealership in Alabama with her father. He wanted to test drive a used pickup. The salesman took one look at his overalls and said, "Come back when you can actually buy." Her father never forgot, neither did she. And now, standing under pendant lights worth more than that old truck, being told again that she didn't belong. Ava looked down at her phone. One message. 2 words. Start logging. Because when justice arrives, it doesn't knock. It keeps the receipts. Ma'am, Martha snapped, now stepping closer, her tone sharper than before. This is your final warning. Vivian crossed her arms, loud enough to be heard 3 desks away. Honestly, if I were her, I'd be embarrassed. Standing around luxury vehicles like it's a showroom tour. She laughed. Alone. The room didn't echo her confidence. Ava stayed still. Not because she was stuck, because she had heard this voice before. The one that doesn't question, only declares. The one that mistakes volume for value. Martha turned toward the front desk. James, can you please call security now? We've got a loitering situation. Jordan, still behind the main desk, froze. He looked from Martha to Ava. His hands hovered over the phone, but he didn't move. Because something about this didn't feel right, Ava didn't look confused or intrusive. She looked intentional, composed, not like someone causing a scene, like someone waiting for the room to reveal itself. Vivian stepped closer to the SUV. This model is mine, by the way, she added with a pointed glance. Custom paint. I'm here for a preview, not a protest. Protest. That word hung in the air, uninvited. Ava blinked slowly. Her silence was louder than any rebuttal. Vivian scoffed. You see that, doesn't even defend herself. That's what guilt looks like. No, Ava thought. That's what control looks like. From the corner of the room, a soft mechanical ding sounded. Security alert from the front desk had gone through. James had pressed it, and now, the escalation had begun. A security guard appeared through the glass door, mid-50s, stocky, in a Navy Monroe uniform. His name tag read, Sea Lions. He paused at the entrance, scanning the room. Martha pointed directly at Ava. That one. She won't leave the Lux section. No appointment. Won't give her name. Ava finally turned toward him, calm. Still no words, but something in her gaze gave him pause. Sea Lions hesitated. Mum, do you have an appointment with a sales associate? Vivian cut him before Ava could answer. Of course she doesn't. She's just here for the air conditioning. Jordan let out the faintest breath, half a scoff, half shame. Ava turned her eyes to Jordan. Nothing was said, but something was asked. Will you speak, or will you stay safe? Vivian, emboldened by the silence, raised her phone. Maybe I should record this, in case she tries to claim something happened. The irony was thick. Jordan's fingers trembled slightly. He lowered the phone he'd been holding under the desk. No recording. Not yet. Martha stepped forward, pulling a laminated protocol guide from the counter. According to Lux's showroom policy, she said theatrically, only verified clients may remain in premium access zones without a staff escort. You failed to identify yourself. Vivian smiled wide. She's failed a lot of things, it seems. Still, Ava said nothing, because when the trap closes, silence is the snap. Vivian leaned toward the SUV, brushing its hood with manicured fingers. God, this car is too beautiful to be surrounded by tension. Her voice dipped into venom. That's when Jordan finally spoke, softly. But it was enough. She hasn't done anything. Martha turned sharply. Excuse me? She hasn't spoken. She hasn't touched anything. She's just standing there. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was held breath. Vivian narrowed her eyes. Are you suggesting we let anyone loiter around six-figure vehicles? You clearly don't understand risk. Jordan's voice wavered, but didn't retreat. I understand optics. Ava looked at him. No smile, no approval. But something shifted, a crack in the facade. Not just in the room, but in the system. Vivian folded her arms again. What is this? A diversity seminar? She laughed. No one joined her. Ava turned toward Martha, one eyebrow slightly raised. Not challenge, not threat, just, are you done yet? Martha, flustered, looked to Lyons. Well, he scored her out. Lyons didn't move. Not yet, because something told him this wasn't over. It was just about to begin. Ava didn't blink, didn't move, didn't defend. She simply reached into her tablet case, pulled out a sleek, black device, and tapped the screen once. To the room, it looked like a silent swipe. To the system, it was a trigger. Deep in the corporate server of Monroe Luxa Drive, a protocol silently activated. Protocol 7, internal field audit discrete mode. Video capture enabled. Audio recognition active. Real-time compliance logging in progress. Ava set the tablet down on the counter beside her, smooth, unhurried. It faced no one in particular, just the room. But the red light near the top corner was on. Still, she said nothing. Vivian sneered. Oh, she has a tablet now. Great. Maybe she'll use it to Google some manners. Martha let out a tight, awkward laugh. We'll see how funny it is when security removes her. But C. Lyons didn't move. His eyes flicked from the tablet to Ava's face. Something about the poise, the precision of her silence, unsettled him. Ma'am, he said carefully, can you at least give us your name? Ava looked up. Her gaze wasn't cold. It was surgical. Then, with a voice quiet but laced with steel, she said, you already know who I am. You just don't realize it yet. Vivian raised her eyebrows. Cryptic, real cute. Martha scoffed. Ma'am, this is not a game. Ava tilted her head slightly. That's the problem. You think this is a game. I built this floor. I laid every rule you're quoting. I signed your protocol sheet. Martha's expression flickered. Just for a second. Vivian barked a laugh. Oh, please. You're some compliance officer. You think spouting big words makes you matter? Ava's eyes drifted back to her tablet. Her fingers moved calmly across the screen. A quiet tone chimed. Carla's voice rang through her AirPod, sufficient, calm. Ma'am, Protocol 7 is active. Front-end systems linked. All personnel within Zone Alpha logged. Would you like me to escalate to HR review? Ava replied softly, under her breath. Not yet. Let them finish their sentence. From across the showroom, Jordan watched her. He couldn't hear Carla, but he felt its thing had shifted. The air was heavier, but not with tension, with consequence. Vivian, arms folded, had no idea she was stepping on a minefield with heels sharpened by ego. I don't care who you are, she said. You're in my way. You're not welcome here. Ava turned toward her. Finally, That's the last thing you'll say to me as a customer. Vivian blinked. What? Ava turned back to her tablet, tapped again. Behind the scenes, Carla initiated soft verification protocols across all showroom terminals. Martha Kilburn's employee log popped open. Her internal memos, past complaints, including one from 3 months ago, dismissed client concern regarding racial tone, marked and verified, filed, ignored, now reopened. Vivian didn't notice. She was too busy posturing. Well, she huffed, grabbing her key fob off the SUV hood. Maybe I'll take my business elsewhere. Ava raised her gaze. You never had business here. You had privilege mistaken for power. Martha finally snapped. I don't care who you are. But this is insubordination. Jordan stepped forward, quiet but firm. You're not her boss. Martha turned to him, aghast. Excuse me. Jordan pointed to Ava's face. You don't recognize her. That's your problem. Vivian looked confused. What's he talking about? And then Ava spoke again. I am Ava Monroe, and you just called security on the woman who signs your paycheck. The room didn't fall silent. It collapsed. Vivian's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. Martha took a half step back. Sea lions looked like someone had pulled the floor from under him, and the red recording light on the tablet blinked steadily yumbling. Jordan didn't mean to speak first. He didn't plan it, but some silences are too loud to ignore. He stepped from behind the desk, eyes flicking from Ava to Martha. His pulse was pounding so hard he could feel it in his ears. She's right, he said, voice steady, but his hands trembled. That's Ava Monroe. Vivian scoffed. Oh, please. What is this, theater? Martha's voice cracked. This isn't possible. Ava Monroe's nosh doesn't do site visits. Ava didn't respond. She didn't need to. Jordan took another step forward. Actually, she does. Quarterly. Quietly. I've seen the internal memo. Martha's eyes darted, her mouth moving but no words coming. Sea Lion shifted his stance. He didn't sit down, but his posture changed less enforcer. More bystander. The other sales associates, who had been lurking near the sides, now moved closer. Phones were in pockets. Eyes were wide. No one spoke. But the energy shifted like gravity choosing a new center. Ava had become the sun. Vivian clutched her handbag tighter. You can't just show up unannounced and start throwing your name around like it means something. Ava turned to her, slowly. It doesn't mean something. It means everything in this building. Her voice didn't rise, but something about the weight of each syllable made the entire room feel smaller. Then, from the back of the showroom, another voice rang out. A woman mid-40s, client, sharp blazer, quiet confidence spoke up. I've seen her before. On Forbes. Ava Monroe. She built this place from scratch. Jordan nodded, almost relieved. Exactly. She's the reason this place even exists. Vivian took a shaky step backward. Well, how was I supposed to know? She didn't even announce herself. She looked. She stopped herself. But it was too late. Ava's eyebrow lifted slightly. Go ahead. Finish that sentence. Vivian's lips parted, then shut. She swallowed hard. For the first time, she looked small. From the corner, a tech assistant just 19. First internship murmured, damn. Another client whispered to his partner. She really owns it, all of this. Martha, now pale, attempted damage control. Ms. Monroe, I apologize. This was a misunderstanding, a breakdown in communication. Ava finally stepped forward, one step only. But it felt like thunder. No, Martha, this was clarity. You showed me exactly what this place becomes when I'm not in the room. Jordan felt something stir in his chest. Not fear. Pride. Ava scanned the faces before her. Eyes locked on her, some filled with guilt, some with awe. One or two with quiet recognition like they'd been waiting for someone to say something. For a long time. Then she turned to Vivian. You called security to remove me. She let it hang. You assumed ownership based on what I didn't wear, what I didn't say, what I didn't look like. Vivian whispered, I didn't know. Ava didn't blink. That's the problem. A beat passed. Then Jordan stepped beside her. "Ms. Monroe, would you like me to escort them out?" A hush fell. Vivian's face turned scarlet. Martha looked like she might faint, but Ava lifted a hand gently. "No." Then she leaned forward just enough for her voice to land sharp. "Let them watch. Let them see what leadership looks like when it doesn't flinch." A single sentence. A final crack in the mask of assumed power. From the corner, the intern hit record on his phone. Not to leap. To remember. Because stories like this don't just get told. They ripple. Martha straightened her blazer. Her fingers trembled, but her voice hardened, trying to reclaim control. "This is still my branch," she snapped, "and I don't need theatrics in front of clients." Jordan flinched. "Theatrics? You just tried to eject the CEO." Vivian waved her hand. She should have said who she was. "You can't expect special treatment if you walk in looking like a..." The room froze. Even Martha widened her eyes. Too late. Vivian tried to recover. "I didn't mean it like that. I just mean she doesn't look corporate." Ava tilted her head. "Define corporate." Vivian opened her mouth, closed it. Silence. Then Ava answered for her. "You meant polished, predictable, white." Jordan winced. The intern quietly mouthed, "Damn." Vivian crossed her arms again. "Look, you can't expect people to just assume you're the CEO. That's not how any of this works." Ava took a single step forward. "No one asked for assumptions. What I expected was respect. The same kind you offer men in cufflinks who don't know a brake pad from a battery." Vivian scoffed. "You're twisting this into something it's not." Ava's tone didn't rise, but it cut. "It's already twisted. I'm just straightening it out." Then she turned to Martha. "You allowed this. You amplified it. And now you're deflecting blame like it's a sales tactic." Martha raised her voice. "I was following procedure." Ava held her stare. "Who's..." Martha blinked. "Excuse me?" Ava repeated, slower. "Whose procedure? Show me the page where it says remove black women who don't announce their net worth." A beat, then another. The room was dead still. Not even the air conditioning dared hum. Ava stepped to the center of the showroom floor. The same floor she had signed off on, designed, invested in. She turned, speaking not to one person but to all of them. "I built Monroe Lux a drive to be different, to challenge what luxury looks like, what it feels like, to create space for excellence without permission." She turned to Martha, "And what I walked into today was not excellence. It was arrogance." Vivian muttered, "This is overkill." Ava turned back to her, slowly, her voice cool as polished steel. "You're lucky I don't send this footage to every publication that ever kissed your ring." Vivian's face flushed. "You're threatening me?" "No," Ava said. "I'm educating you." Martha, suddenly pale, made one last attempt to stand her ground. "I've served this company for 19 years. I've hit every target. I've built this showroom's numbers." Ava didn't blink. "But you destroyed its values." Behind her, Carla's voice crackled softly in the AirPods. "HR has flagged 3 prior complaints under Kilburn. Pattern behavior. Shall I proceed?" Ava whispered, "Stand by." Jordan took a step closer, voice calm. "Ms. Monroe, with respect, this isn't just about today, is it?" Ava turned to him. "No, today is just a mirror." She looked at everyone now, staff, the clients, even Vivian. "What you do when no one's watching is your brand. What you tolerate when you think someone's invisible is your legacy." She turned back to Martha. "And yours just expired." Vivian's lips trembled not with fear, but with fury. She stepped closer to Ava, invading space as if proximity could reclaim power. "You think standing here in flats and a linen blouse makes you untouchable," she hissed. "You're still just..." She caught herself, too late again. Ava didn't move, didn't blink, just watched. Vivian looked around, the eyes on her, the judgment, the shift in power. She couldn't take it, and then she acted. With one swift, unhinged motion, she reached forward and slammed Ava's tablet shut. The sharp click of plastic and glass echoed across the showroom like a gunshot. Gasps filled the air. Jordan instinctively stepped forward. "Hey, what the hell?" The intern at the back dropped his phone. She just. Even Martha flinched. Vivian's face burned crimson. I don't care who you are. You don't get to humiliate me in my dealership. Ava's voice was quieter than ever. Your dealership. She reopened the tablet calmly. The screen reawakened instantly, video intact. Recording uninterrupted. Technology doesn't flinch, she said. And neither do I. Vivian took a half step back. You provoked this. Ava stood straighter now. Taller, even without heels. No. I reflected you, and you couldn't bear your own reflection. Seat Lyons, the security guard, finally moved not toward Ava, but between her and Vivian. Ma'am, he said to Vivian, with measured restraint, please step back. Vivian turned on him. Excuse me. Seat Lyons didn't waver. You've crossed a line. This is now a security matter. Vivian opened her mouth to protest, but now even Martha said nothing. Her eyes were glued to the tablet, because on screen, the footage was clear. Audio crisp. Vivian's words, her actions, her tone, everything documented. Ava looked at Martha. This is what you allowed. This is what you entered silently, passively, and with policy as your shield. Martha's voice came out small. I didn't know she would. You didn't have to, Ava cut in. You created the room where this was possible. Vivian's voice cracked. You're just doing this to make an example of me. Ava tilted her head. No, Vivian, you made yourself the example. Then, she looked up calm, poised, lethal. Carla. The voice in her AirPods returned instantly. Yes, ma'am. Upload today's footage to corporate compliance. Flag under level to escalation. A pause. Done. Logged. Confirmed. Jordan took a breath. What's level 2? Ava answered without turning. Public-facing consequences. Vivian finally broke. This is slander. I'll sue. Ava turned fully toward her. You'll need a lawyer who specializes in undoing legacies built on entitlement. Vivian's mouth moved, but no sound came out. Ava looked down at the tablet again. And Vivian. Vivian looked up. The only thing more dangerous than underestimating power is provoking it when it's quiet. The room stood still. Silent. Heavy. Because something irreversible had just happened. And everyone knew it. Ava didn't need to raise her voice. She didn't need to threaten. Power, when rooted deep enough, doesn't ask for attention. It commands it. She turned her back to Vivian and Martha, not out of dismissal, but completion. They no longer required her focus. Now, it was time for action. Ava tapped a sequence on her tablet. The screen lit up with an interface only a few people in the world had access to. Luxa Drive internal command. Authorization, founder-level access. She selected the Chicago branch. Status, active. A drop-down menu appeared. She pressed, Initiate, Internal Audit Sweep. Revoke, Level 3 access M. Kilburn. Flag, Incident External Escalation Potential. Done. The system responded with a soft chime. Within seconds, Martha's company badge still clipped to her blazer vibrated. Then blinked red. Then went dead. Martha stared at it. I can't log in, she whispered, almost to herself. It's saying unauthorized credential. Jordan looked at her, eyes wide. She just locked you out. Ava didn't flinch. I didn't lock her out. The system did. I simply reminded it who's in charge. Vivian scoffed. This is a stunt. She can't do that. See, Lyons finally spoke, quietly but firmly. Ma'am, she can. She just did. Vivian looked around, seeking allies. Found none. Ava turned to Carla again, speaking low. Has the compliance team at HQ received the footage? Carla. Yes, ma'am. Confirmation just came through. Executive committee is reviewing. ETA for response. 35 minutes. Ava nodded. Good. In the meantime, she walked slowly to the center of the showroom. Her heels flats. Still tapped softly against the polished stone. Not loud, but final. She turned to the staff now. Not the culprits, the witnesses. The ones who had watched, waited. Frozen by fear or uncertainty. Let's be clear, she said. What happened here wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a mirror. And everyone in this room was reflected. Some looked down, some looked at her. No one looked away. Jordan swallowed. What happens now? Ava turned toward him. Her voice softened but not weakened. Now, we reset the tone. She scanned the room, effective immediately. All client-facing staff at this branch will undergo direct equity and culture retraining. Not modules, not checkboxes, conversations, real ones. Martha finally found her voice. You can't just after everything I've done. Ava turned her gaze toward her, not sharp, but surgical. You did your job, but you lost the mission. Martha's lip quivered. I built this place. Ava stepped closer, and I built you into it, and now I'm building you out. She turned again to Carla. Notify HR. Regional Director privileges for M. Kilburn are suspended pending formal review. Recommend early retirement package. Discreet exit. A pause. Carla responded, noted, logged, executing. Vivian nearly shouted, and what about me? Ava turned, slowly. You'll still get your service appointment. Vivian blinked. What? Ava's tone didn't change. But not here. Not in this branch. Not ever again. Vivian's mouth opened. Your client profile is being reclassified. You're no longer a Luxus Circle priority. You'll be redirected to partner dealers, where, hopefully, the staff hasn't been trained to mirror you. Vivian stood frozen. Not thrown out. Not arrested. Just removed. Quietly. Permanently. With precision. The kind of justice that doesn't shout. It whispers and echoes forever. Ava walked toward the center podium of the showroom, the one usually reserved for high-profile vehicle launches and press events. Today, it would serve a different purpose. She didn't raise her voice. She raised the moment. With calm precision, she turned to face every soul in the room. My name is Ava Monroe, she said. Founder, owner, Chief Vision Officer of Monroe Luxa Drive. I don't just sign your checks, I sign the future of this company. Jordan straightened his back. The intern stopped breathing. Martha looked like she'd been hollowed out from the inside. Ava continued. I started this company 11 years ago. With $30,000 saved from consulting contracts no one believed I could land. I bought my first 3 EVs from repossession auctions. I detailed them myself. Drove them myself. Sold them myself. Her voice didn't shake. It rang. I didn't build Monroe Luxa Drive to impress luxury buyers. I built it to challenge the definition of luxury itself. She scanned the faces again. Luxury isn't silence when injustice speaks. It isn't glass walls to keep truth out. It isn't protocol used as a sword. Her voice dipped, but somehow, it carried farther. Luxury is dignity, integrity, and the courage to choose people over pride. Vivian tried to scoff, but the sound died in her throat. Ava looked directly at her. You walked in today thinking the space belonged to you because you spend money here. I walk in knowing it belongs to me because I created the space where you could. The room was silent, not frozen, transformed. Every person present felt it. The ceiling was the same. The walls hadn't moved, but the gravity had shifted. Ava continued, voice calm, but final. I wore flats today, Vivian, no makeup, no designer purse, because I wanted to see what survived when appearance wasn't a shield. She paused, and I saw enough. Sea Lions gave a slow nod. Jordan looked visibly emotional. The intern wiped his glasses, trying to hide tears. Martha muttered, barely audible, I didn't know. Ava turned to her, not with hatred, with truth. You didn't want to. Then she faced the team. You all now have a choice. Keep selling cars or start building trust. A beat. I'm rebuilding this branch from the bones out. Those who can lead through reflection, not just reaction, will stay. The rest I wish you well. Vivian opened her mouth again. Ava cut her off without even turning. You're dismissed. The 2 words cracked louder than any scream. Vivian turned to leave, stiff, silent. Martha followed, slower, her badge still blinking red. Ava stood there a moment longer, then looked at Jordan. You stayed quiet longer than you should have. But when it mattered, you stepped forward. Jordan swallowed hard. Thank you for giving me the chance. Ava nodded. Just make sure someone else never has to ask for it. She turned to the room one last time. I didn't come here today to be seen. I came to see." She picked up the tablet, tucked it under her arm, and began to walk away. And behind her, no applause, no music, just breath held, and a room forever changed. Martha stood near the showroom exit, frozen. Her badge still blinked red, a silent reminder that her authority had been revoked at the root. No key card, no access, no title. Vivian gripped her designer bag like it could anchor her in place. But she was already drifting out of relevance, out of control, out of the world she thought belonged to her. "Don't touch me," she hissed, brushing off a junior staffer who instinctively reached out to steady her as she stumbled. No one escorted them out, because power never walks you to the door when it's done with you. It just stops opening them. Ava had already disappeared through the back corridor. No celebration, no victory lap, just purpose, completed. But the silence she left behind was electric. Jordan exhaled, shoulders finally dropping. The intern Malik, fresh out of Howard, whispered, "That was like watching Harriet Tubman in Prada." Another client, the woman in the sharp blazer who had recognized Ava, turned to the room. "Well," she said, voice steady, "are we pretending that didn't happen?" A few heads shook, quiet no more. The junior staffer, who'd been pushed by Vivian, looked at Martha's abandoned workstation, then picked up her headset, slid into the chair, opened the dashboard. No one stopped her. Jordan glanced at her. "You sure?" She nodded. "She's not coming back." And then a single clap. From the back of the room, slowed steady. It was Lyons, the security guard. He didn't smile, but his eyes were proud. Malik joined in, then Jordan, then the blazer woman, and suddenly, the entire showroom rippled with applause, not wild, not chaotic, but deliberate. Each clap was a reckoning. Each clap was an apology that couldn't be spoken. And each clap was a vow: we saw her. We saw us. Vivian turned at the threshold, watching it unfold, but no one looked at her. She had become invisible in a room where she once demanded spotlight. Martha sank onto the bench by the entrance. Her hands shook. She whispered, 19 years. Jordan stood over her. "You stayed 19 years, he said, but you never moved forward." Outside, Ava's car, matte black, custom electric sedan with zero branding, slid into the reserved space. The driver stepped out, silent, efficient. She opened the passenger door herself, slid in. No paparazzi, no press. But inside her inbox, already pinging were for notifications. HR has approved the termination protocol. Client escalation logged across all regional branches. Press statement requested. Hold or release. Incoming. Interview request from Bloomberg. Ava glanced at them, then set the phone down. She looked out the window one last time. The building didn't look different, but it was, because what changed wasn't the walls. It was the people. 3 days later, the press statement dropped, effective immediately. Monroe Luxa Drive has parted ways with Regional Director Martha Kilburn. The company remains committed to ensuring every client and employee is treated with dignity, equity, and respect. Additional restructuring at the Chicago showroom is underway. Short, surgical, exactly how Ava wanted it. No scandal, no spectacle, just precision. HR confirmed that Martha's early retirement would come with no press coverage and limited benefits. Her access was revoked, her company car retrieved, her email auto-redirected with a single sentence. "This inbox is no longer active." Vivian's fate wasn't as clean. The footage had gone viral, not from Ava, but from Malik. He uploaded a 30-second clip to TikTok with the caption, "When you try to kick out the black woman who owns the building." 5.2 million views. To national outlets reached out to Ava's office for comment. She declined both, but the clip did enough. Vivian was dropped from her luxury brand sponsorships within 48 hours. Her social club membership suspended. Her dealer loyalty status revoked across all branches. Not blacklisted, just no longer prioritized. And for someone like Vivian, that was worse. Meanwhile, the Chicago showroom transformed. New signage at the front, where luxury means belonging. A framed letter from Ava was mounted by the entrance. "This space is more than cars. It's a mirror. And if you don't like what you see, change the reflection." Martha's old office was cleared. Jordan moved in temporarily as acting branch liaison. Malik was hired full-time, 3 months ahead of schedule. The entire team underwent a 7-day intensive led not by HR, but by Ava herself. No slides, no scripts. She sat with them, told her story, asked hard questions. Who do you greet first? What assumptions do you make when someone walks in? What does silence say when someone is being mistreated and you say nothing? She wasn't angry. She was exacting. Each day ended not with applause, but reflection. By day 5, one associate asked if Ava planned to audit every branch like this. Ava smiled faintly. Only the ones worth keeping. Corporate called it cultural recoding, but inside the room, they called it something else. The Monroe shift. Because from that moment on, everyone stood taller not from fear, but clarity. And Ava, she didn't stick around for praise. She walked the floor on day 7, nodded once to Jordan, once to Malik, then turned to leave. Someone asked, "Will you be back?" Ava didn't stop walking. She just said, "I never left." 3 weeks later, a woman walked into the Monroe Luxa Drive showroom. She was older, maybe mid-60s, wore her hair natural, silver strands soft against deep brown skin. She carried a notebook, no handbag, no designer shades, just presence. Jordan stood behind the desk. He looked up, smiled. "Welcome to Monroe Luxa Drive. Can I get you something? Water? Tea?" The woman smiled back. "No need. I'm just observing." Jordan tilted his head, looking for something specific. She looked around not at the cars, but the walls, the signs, the faces. "No," she said. "I'm looking at how I'm seen." Jordan didn't miss a beat. "You're seen as valued." She nodded, eyes thoughtful. "That's new." In the corner, Malik was walking a young couple through the specs of an electric SUV, but his voice dropped when he saw her. He whispered to the clients, "Excuse me a moment." He approached the woman slowly. "Are you?" She smiled. "No," she said, "not Ava." But Malik still nodded in respect. "She'd like you." The woman paused, then, "She already does." Outside, the sun hit the chrome edges of the parked vehicles, scattering flecks of light across the showroom floor. Everything shimmered, but nothing blinded, because truth was no longer hidden here, and inside Ava's office untouched, minimalist. Weighing her words remained etched into the glass panel behind her desk. "You don't fix a system by shouting over it. You fix it by becoming louder in silence." Ava wasn't there the day. She was in Atlanta, then Seattle, then somewhere else. Not chasing injustice, just showing up before it had a chance to settle. Her new initiative, Project Threshold, launched quietly, targeting industries where entry was mistaken for privilege, not earned. Banks, law firms, private schools. No spotlight, no hashtags. Just Ava, and her silence that made rooms rearrange themselves. Back at the showroom, Malik returned to his clients. The woman walked toward the exit, but before leaving, she turned once more. "This place feels different." Jordan nodded. "It is." She smiled gently. "Good." Then she walked out into the light, and behind her, a showroom once cracked by assumption now stood whole. Not because it was perfect, but because someone finally stopped asking for permission to make it better. This was her story. Ava Monroe. Black, CEO, unbothered, uncompromising, unmistakable. And if you listen close, you didn't just hear justice. You heard it breathing.